Welcome to the Cloud Pod, where the forecast is always cloudy. We talk weekly about all things AWS, GCP, and Azure. We are your hosts,
Justin,
Jonathan,
Ryan,
and Peter.
Episode 87, recorded on September 23rd, 2020. The Cloud Pod gets the AWS Perspective. Good evening, Peter and Jonathan.
How's it going, Justin?
It is going quite well. It's a week away from my trip away. So it'll be super
wonderful.
Yeah. Also, a week away from the Google product announcement, which I'm desperately waiting for because my Pixel 3 phone I've held onto for 2 years now is on its last legs, and I just really, really want it to last until I can order a new phone.
When do they cancel the new phone? When do they cancel it? So they announce it next week, but when do they announce the cancellation? Is that the week after?
I have no idea. Apparently, it's already a downgrade on the old phone, so maybe they're taking a different tactic.
Yeah, yesterday they announced Google Tables, which is an Airtable rival and a work tracking tool for project management kind of stuff to compete with Trello. And my joke yesterday was, so they used the table solution to plan the decommissioning.
Most likely.
Yeah. So it was good. Well, that's exciting. Ryan is still off in the desert somewhere, hopefully safe and well and enjoying himself immensely with his friends. So we'll see him back next week for episode 88, but he's hopefully having a lovely time. Well, we have a busy week ahead here on the show. So the first one up is Amazon out of the gate with the API Gateway, which now supports mutual TLS authentication. Customers can now enable MTLS on custom domain names for regional REST and HTTP APIs at no additional cost. Mutual TLS enhances the security of your API and helps protect your data from attacks such as client spoofing or man-in-the-middle attacks. API Gateway previously not only supported one-way TLS, and so this is two-way TLS, so twice as good, right?
Twice as nice. Yeah, for sure. This is something that people have been asking for a long time, and I know, especially in the finance industry, where clients get issued with their own certificates to identify them, in addition to usernames and passwords for the users, it's going to be really good for them.
So more support for zero trust networks.
Yep.
I do suspect that we'll see mutual TLS rolling out in a big way across many services, along with TLS 1.3. So API Gateway just got TLS 1.3 last week, and now this week suddenly they have mutual TLS auth. Amazing how that works. So glad to see that that's out there. I know one of our listeners is very excited about this because he talked about it in the Slack room. For our listeners who are joining us on Slack every day in the week, we love to talk about all of the great features and dreams that we have for AWS and other cloud providers too. Well, the next one is the detective is on the case. He's now analyzing IAM role sessions so that you can visualize and understand the actions that users and apps have performed using assumed roles. This allows you to answer simple questions such as which federated user invoked APIs that are associated with the security finding. Once the detective is enabled, you can process all VPC float logs and CloudTrail management events for across a customer's enabled accounts, collating data about activity performed under the auspices of an IAM role into role session. So for those of you using AWS SSO or any other SSO solution, you can't really tell, at least before this, who did something in an account because you didn't have to federate their user ID with a login for that and then also into the CloudTrail event logs. And now Detective is doing that all for you. So again, Detective on the case.
That's really neat. I always used named sessions to help solve this same problem, so you could trace a user's activities. But this is going to be so useful for all the security people.
Oh yeah, just making this job easy is key.
Well, it's the number one question you kind of end up asking is like, well, who changed the thing in production? So now I can trace it back really simply with Detective. That's super helpful. Well, if you've been itching to improve the Cloudwatch agent, you now have the chance because it's now open source. It is available to you to make all your fun pull requests, suggestions, report issues, and all kinds of other great things for the Cloudwatch agent. With this announcement, they also have enabled it in the Yum package manager for Amazon Linux too. So instead of installing it from a S3 binary, you now have to install. You can now just do a Yum package install to get that Cloudwatch agent, making it much easier to get set up and started with
That's
Cloudwatch.
Cool. Do you think they're open sourcing these things for transparency so you can see exactly what the agent's doing? Or do you think it's because they actually care that people contribute?
I think it's a double-edged sword kind of one. They want to kind of show that for compliance reasons that this is a safe agent and that you can deploy it on a server and it's not going to hurt you. But the other side of it is it's a great way to get issues reported very quickly without having to go through a customer support process and gives a support path. And the third thing I think is it just makes it easy so people, if they do have something minor or some tweak, they can do a fork of the agent and then add their own custom logic to it. I think there are some use cases where maybe you're blocked in production because of some simple bug that you don't want to wait for Amazon to fix. I think there's some opportunities there for people as well. But I'm not a big fan of doing a multi-billionaire company's job, so I like them just to do it themselves. But if I'm in a hurry and I have an itch to scratch that needs to get done,
what data does Amazon want you to send to Cloudwatch? And the answer is all of it. So, this makes it much easier for, I would imagine, third-party products to easily get their data sources natively right into the Cloudwatch agent, so people don't have to install additional agents to push stuff to Cloudwatch.
That's interesting. It kind of reminds me of the whole Beats ecosystem kind of mentality.
Hopefully it works better.
Yeah.
I broke more things with Beats than I fixed by proactively monitoring. It was awesome.
Yeah. I think my problem with Beats is that I really wish it was easy to remote control from the place you're sending the data to, because we get people configuring their Beats to ship metrics out every 10 seconds, every 5 seconds, and we really want it every minute or two at the most. And there's nothing you can do, and all of a sudden you realize you've got 5,000 servers sending you metrics every 5 seconds.
DDoS, baby.
Stop.
I DDoS myself. Yeah,
stop the insanity. Well, the other insanity that Amazon's helping you stop this week is patching. So if you had the need to patch all of your Amazon EC2 instances, Windows most likely, maybe Linux, you could set up a very simple SSM policy and determine if they are in compliance with your patching status and patching baselines. But you'd have to log into all of your accounts to determine what the status of that patching was or where the non-compliant resources are. And so Amazon has now made that much simpler with a new ability to have a single dashboard via the AWS Security Hub that will give you access to all of the data from the AWS Systems Manager Patch Manager, enabling you to automatically send patch compliance findings generated by your patch rules to AWS Security Hub. So this is great for your security NOC team or SOC team who's trying to figure out, where are all the non-compliant servers. This is a great way to quickly cut through that noise and find the offending server and get it patched.
Yeah, just think if it was you could automate things with this now, right? Could automatically kill things that didn't get patched after a certain time, or
force a SSM patching run on a server that's out of compliance for more than X number of days. Or there's all kinds of really cool automations you can now build off of Security Hub to do all kinds of great remediations.
I guess then the question is, do people start shadow patching so that you're not patching through Systems Manager so that people don't know when you're out of date?
Well, the easy solution to that is just remove the SSM agent IAM permissions, and then it can't update Amazon that it has it's out of compliance. That's
I like it.
To do that, Peter.
I like it.
All right. Well, Amazon's giving you new perspectives with a new AWS Perspective solution. This is an invitation that helps you build detailed architecture diagrams of your workload from live data in your account that you can customize and share with your colleagues. AWS Perspective maintains an inventory of AWS resources from the accounts and AWS regions that you import, deriving relationships between discovered resources and presents them in a web application. Each architecture diagram includes data related to historic costs and other metadata for the resources it contains, and you can export these out as CSV, PNG, JSON, or DRAW.io files.
It is cool. I really wanted to play with this earlier today, but I didn't get around to it. I think my first feature request, not even having used the product though, is I want this to run cross account so that I can deploy this once, because this isn't a managed service. They provide the source code or they provide the binaries and you deploy it yourself in your own account. I guess that goes back to the whole separation of duties as well, and so not giving Amazon access to all your stuff, which is weird because it's running in AWS anyway.
Yeah,
but you run it yourself. You can build your own diagrams yourself. But imagine running this across 200 accounts and coming up with a whole portfolio of your architecture. It'd be cool.
So it's funny because we have tools that do this at the network layer on Amazon, and just in a single account, it's so amazing how you can build up so many artifacts that automated drawing tool. You actually have to reduce the scope in order to make the drawing human consumable. So I couldn't even imagine if we made ours multi-account. it would just be, if you've ever tried to trace cables that are in cable management, zip ties and stuff, that's what it feels like on a diagram.
Mm.
It's amazing how many services this thing uses. If you look at the diagram for the solution, it's got Lambda at the edge, it's got CloudFront, it's got AppSync, Cognito. API gateways, Dynamo. Their Amplify is in here as well. There's just a ton of stuff in it, and ECS is involved. Many things. So again, be careful because you might need that billing diagram just to know how much this thing is costing you to run. But
some of those things aren't serverless, and they don't. They cost you by the hour. Like Neptune's not serverless, so I skimmed the article to see if they put a price on for like an hourly usage, how much you expect to pay, but I didn't see anything.
It is a CloudFormation template, so you could just load it into the console and they'll give you an estimate there too. So it isn't in there.
The other thing to be wary of, even if it's not going to consume a lot of resources itself, is that most of these tools do mass describe calls. And so if you're concerned about pushing your API limits on your account, this could put it over the top.
That's a good point. Yeah, actually, some of those describe calls are really
we learned the hard way.
Yeah, no, I did a Jira for myself today because of exactly the same problem.
Yeah.
I just want to read. I just want to describe it. Please let me do it.
Just give me everything. All of the describes.
Hey everyone, Jonathan here. I just wanted to take a minute to thank the cloud consulting gurus at Foghorn for helping make the Cloud Pod possible. These folks truly get it. Cloud consulting experts since 2008, they are premier tier partners with AWS, Google Cloud Platform Silver, and Microsoft Azure partners. From multi-cloud to containers to moving full production workloads to the cloud under the tightest compliance, Foghorn's team of full-stack cloud engineers have been there, done that, gotten the t-shirt, and are ready to share their experience with you. If you're in the market for some talent to supplement your team, visit www.fogops.io/thecloudpod. www.fogops.io/thecloudpod. Foghorn, the promise of cloud delivered.
All right. Well, Amazon Wavelengths was launched a little while ago in San Francisco and Boston, which if you did not live in those two amazing cities, you were out of luck. But now I have 3 new cities for you to take advantage of the AWS Wavelength service with Verizon 5G Ultra Wideband network. Now in Atlanta, New York City, and Washington, D.C. So you can now take advantage of all this amazing 5G capabilities. This article is a little interesting too, is they do have some early case studies from a couple companies, including YBVR, Zixi, and CrowdVision, to see how they are using this ultra wideband capability in their systems. So do check those out if you're curious or you're starting to look at doing something with wavelength. There are now some use cases and early case studies that can help you out.
I watched the video from YBVR. It looks really impressive. And with COVID shutting down in-person sporting events and things, that technology could be really amazing. I can see them being something to invest in for the future.
Yeah. I do suspect that we'll start seeing a lot of these announcements as 5G kind of becomes a big deal this year, with the new Android phones and the new iPhones this year are all supposed to be 5G enabled. So I suspect that we'll start seeing a lot more, from Google and Azure in the space as well as they rapidly support 5G through their partners, AT&T or Sprint, T-Mobile, whoever they partnered with, as we talked about. They all kind of pick their own cloud. So there you go, to make it more complicated.
Why do you think these cities, are they particularly big for sporting events, or do you think there's another reason why?
I have no idea. Your guess is as good as mine. New York City makes sense to me from a population perspective that, the more bandwidth you can get to New York City for mobile devices, the better off you're going to be. Washington, D.C., maybe for political reasons and, you use it for lobbying advantage and show like, hey,
look at all the protesters in 3D. Yeah. Look at our virtual protests.
They do now have the best NFL football team name of all time.
The Washington football team. It's very, very clear and to the point. And then Atlanta, I don't really know. So I'm sure there's a very valid reason someone will write into us and tell us, well, it's because, Atlanta is the hub city of Verizon's something, or I don't know. I have no idea. But I'm sure there's valid reasons. I just don't know what they are. On to GCP, who looked around and said, we're tired after 9 weeks of our event, and it's Ignite week this week, so we're going to be quiet. But we have 2 little announcements we want to tell you about. The first one is they are now making it easier to manage Windows Server VMs on the Google Cloud. They're making it easier by doing 4 things. The first one is they're giving you boot screen diagnostics so you can see why your boot server won't boot, which is really annoying when it's a Windows box due to a corrupted VM disk or some other terrible thing that's got to see that happen for boot screens. And then the next one is auto upgrade for in-place upgrades of Windows 2008. Because if you're a Windows admin, you know that you should never in-place upgrade. But if you don't know that, because you're a Linux guy who said, I can just in-place upgrade it, sounds easy. Google gives you the ability to try this out. And if it doesn't work, it'll automatically roll you back to Windows 2008 without you having to do a lot of work. This is a great way to test your upgrade process and then roll it out across your fleet once you know that it works all through a single G-Cloud command. And then there's a new diagnostic information tool from Google to help you identify Windows VM issues and to help you with support at Google. And then a new licensing reporting tool, because what everyone loves about Windows is reporting your licensing. And so to make that much simpler for BYOL customers, this tool allows you to quickly identify your maximum high watermarks for physical servers and understand license usage at any time. So there you go.
Nice. So it's a tool that gives me a picture of the blue screen of death.
That was always a super valuable one too. Like we learned so much from the content of the list of characters on the blue screen of death.
I just love seeing those pictures of billboard in Times Square and stuff with the blue screen on it. There's whole collections of images out there. I've got pictures of ATMs running like Windows CE with a blue screen on them. It's that's fun.
There are a couple that, at least back in the NT4 days, that I recognized just by seeing it. Oh, that's bad memory. Or there's some of those that you saw quite often back in those days. But most of the time they're very unhelpful. Well, the next one is the ability to, export data. So nothing is worse than running an export job on your database for things like backups and regulatory data retention, or to populate, a data lake and cause a massive outage due to massive database blocking, or even worse, performance issues caused by your export. And Google is here to rescue you with a new feature called Cloud SQL serverless exports, which allows you to export data from MySQL and PostgreSQL database instances without any impact on performance or risk to your production workloads. Cloud Export supports portable data formats like SQL and CSVs and can be triggered anytime and written to cloud storage buckets that you control. You can use this feature for free until February, and then you will pay a penny per gigabyte of instant storage capacity for the export.
Yeah, it's ironic because I was on a call today where we're helping a customer who is dealing with database locking and they're running on instances on VMs. So yeah, your backup doesn't take very long and you grow and you're successful, and pretty soon gets really ugly. And now you got to fix it when it's the hardest time ever to fix it. So I bet this is going to make people happy.
Yeah, it seems like something that they would have thought about at the beginning.
You would think so, but we have another story in landing around from Amazon, so I'm not so sure that's the case.
How do you think they do it? Like, do you think they just, because, you could connect multiple devices, except you don't want to connect multiple. You can connect multiple in read-only mode to the same block storage. Do you think just spin up a SQL server in the background, connect to the same physical disk?
Probably. It's probably kind of semi-serverless. Take a snapshot of the volumes that have the transaction log and the data on, and sort of load that up somewhere else with an engine, export the data from there.
It seems relatively simple to implement, and it's so much value add.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people will get a lot of value out of this feature for sure.
Oh, definitely. It's a pain for everybody.
Well, it's Ignite Week at Azure. I forgot to tell you all because I so overwhelmed with the success of the Google Cloud Next that I forgot that Ignite was coming up. So Ignite is, of course, Azure's or Microsoft's second big conference of the year. This one is typically focused at IT professionals. They cover a lot of the Office 365 things. They cover Azure, and they cover several other dynamics, which I don't know what that is, and other no-code solutions that Microsoft thinks are important to the world. But they did have several Azure announcements that I wanted to mention and bring up, and so we will run through those here today. That are pretty exciting for those of you using Azure out there. The first one is if you are using NetApp's Azure offering, Azure NetApp Files, they now support cross-region replication and new enhancements available to you in preview. With this new DR capability, you can replicate your Azure NetApp file volumes from one region to another in a fast and cost-effective way, protecting your data from unforeseeable regional failures. The feature supports multiple replication frequency options from every 10 minutes to hourly or to daily. You can read from the secondary volume during active replication. You can fail over to secondary volume on demand at a time of your choice. And you can monitor and alert the health of volume replication and the health of the secondary volume through Azure NetApp Files and receive alerts through the Azure Monitor. That is pretty great for those of you who are using the Azure NetApp Files option because you couldn't figure out object storage.
Very true.
Yeah, I mean, not to mention, can you imagine being NetApp right now, not seeing the writing on the wall that these are all going to be built into all these features are going to be built into the block storage as well.
Well, they have all these features in the Azure Block Storage today, but this partnership they've had for a while, and it's available to you if you're a NetApp shop on premise and you want to move to Azure. or even Google actually offers this as well. So for those of you who still want to use some of these more legacy solutions, this is a great option to keep you on the NetApp train or continue to use those NetApp tools you've always used and loved in your private data center.
Well used.
All right. Well, the next one up is Microsoft's newest sustainable data center region coming to you soon in 2021 in Arizona. Now, again, I repeat, newest sustainable data center region in Arizona. Azure apparently is continuing on their journey to be carbon negative by 2030. And the newest data center will be a sustainable data center region in Arizona, which will become West US 3 region. In developing the new region, they did have water conservation in mind and replenishment firmly in their design. This is a LEEDs Gold certified facility, which will help conserve additional resources, including energy and water, and generate less waste and support human health. The new region will also include availability zones, which are unique physical locations with independent power, networking, and cooling available to you. And Microsoft plans to keep these data centers cool without water for at least half the year using a method called adiabatic cooling, which uses outside air instead of water for cooling when temperatures are below 85 degrees Fahrenheit. For those of you who've been to Arizona, below 85 degrees Fahrenheit in global warming is not a very common thing.
Well, Phoenix is one thing. There is some high desert in Arizona, which gets pretty cold. They don't say where they're going to build the data center, though. I assume it's near a population center.
Yeah, I think in the article they mentioned it was near Phoenix, but it's not in Phoenix.
So I would still imagine it would be much more efficient if it were in Saskatoon.
or sunk under the ocean, like the last data center they just dragged up out of the... which ocean was it? It was like the North Sea or something, just off of coast of Scotland.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool experiment.
Yeah.
The thing about I had a data center in Portland once, in Arizona once. And the reality of it is, they are fine when you're on the floor and the air conditioning is working, but the crawl space above it is very hot. And they have these really tall ceilings above the data center floor to keep as much space as possible between the servers and the hot air of the outside world inside Arizona. But it was interesting because they were talking about, they've been working with the local governments to really focus on, data conservation for water and how do they, make sure they have water available for these cooling plants. And I'm not sure it's the place I would build a data center. I know from other threats, it's always been very popular because it's, it doesn't have hurricanes, it doesn't have earthquakes, it doesn't have volcanoes, it doesn't have all those things. So Arizona's kind of always been a popular data center location, except for the cooling part. That's the part that always got me.
It does have great sunshine throughout the year. It's far enough south that the solar probably far outweighs the
good point.
The cooling needs, especially if you've got this new
free solar
technology.
Power.
I visited a Capgemini data center one time that was doing a similar thing with using ambient air to cool it. It was in the UK. So that was a little bit cooler temperatures, so it's a little bit easier to use the outside air. But it was actually interesting because it was a data center built inside of a huge warehouse. So from the outside, it looked like a very large warehouse, and then you go inside, and they had basically a containerized data center built out where they could basically build these pods out, and each pod was fully self-contained, and it would use ambient air to cool as much as it could, and then it would divert to air conditioning when it needed to. But there are a lot of really cool technologies they're doing in data centers to make them more environmentally friendly.
In England, they offer cold and damp storage.
If only that was lighting around, Jonathan.
I know. And the bias the judge.
Yeah, really. Trying to win points.
Well, the global pandemic has completely changed the way we communicate with each other. We haven't seen each other in months now here at the Cloud Pod. But customers still need to connect with businesses. They might need it to be via virtual assistants or enabling curbside pickup, forcing companies in Asia to rethink how they engage with physical interactions. And of course, building new communication solutions or integrate them into existing applications can be complex and time-consuming, often requiring considerable investment and specialized expertise. And so Azure is coming to your rescue with the Azure Communication Services, the first fully managed communication platform offering from a major cloud provider. Azure Communication Services are built on top of the same low latency global communication network used by Microsoft Teams to support over 5 billion meeting minutes in a single day. The Azure Communication Service supports 4 key areas, including voice and video calling, chat, SMS, and phone numbers. Azure Communication Services brings together the best of communication technology, development efficiency, cloud scale, and enterprise-grade security. So, first of all, why did they just go beat up Twilio like that? That's harsh. Twilio's been around forever. And then number 2, I don't know that they're the first cloud provider to offer this. I'm pretty sure Amazon has some telephony capabilities, including Connect and the the Chime SDK, which provides some of these very same capabilities, which we just talked about with Slack adopting the entire Chime SDK to power their video backend. So I was a little miffed by that, but other than that, it was a pretty good announcement.
Yeah, so it almost seems like they're going after some of the Zoom functionality as well with the voice integration into Teams.
Well, yeah, they've been going after video conferencing since they bought Skype.
Exactly.
They just keep trying different ways. They're like, it's going to be Skype. No, not Skype. It's going to be Teams now. And they go all over the place.
Well, they've got the same problem as Google. They keep changing their mind about what they want to do for communication, except at least Google have the decency to get rid of the old stuff.
Hey, I like IE6.
Yeah. No web developer likes IE6. Well, if you're not wowed by Twilio competitors, the next one up is a bunch of AI solutions, which are so exciting. The first one is the new spatial analysis capability for computer vision Azure Cognitive Service. Whoa, say that 5 times fast. It provides an advanced AI model to aggregate insights from multiple cameras to count the number of people in the room, measure the distance between individuals, and monitor wait and dwell times. Things that you don't really need during COVID, but maybe in the future you need for social distancing. I don't know.
Yeah, it seems perfect for COVID.
It sounds like an airport security tool.
But like, imagine if you're like, okay, we get to open our restaurant as long as people don't like stick around for 6 hours or break the rules, and we can't open right now because we can't identify it. But how great if you could identify and just hire a couple brutes to walk through when someone breaks the rules.
Brutes.
Grab them by the scruff of the neck.
It'll be wall-mounted lasers or some computerized voice that says, "Hey, you there with the glasses. Move along."
I'm picturing a brute with 2 cauliflower ears and a bunch of tattoos.
I can only imagine what that looks like. The next option in their cognitive solutions here is the new Metrics Advisor, which is a new Azure Cognitive Service to help customers monitor metrics to proactively and quickly diagnose issues as they arise, deviations and things that are pretty standard monitoring tools. So this one's a little weird to me. And then, of course, they highlighted the fact that they use AI responsibly and have an AI responsibility pledge that they leverage, which they remind you how these fit into as well.
I'm sure if Jedi comes along with some money and says, "Hey, can we use your AI for military operations?" I'm sure they'll turn them away.
Of course they will,
Sure,
especially for internal affairs in the US.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, technically, Azure shouldn't even know because they're not supposed to be able to see the data. So we'll see. The next one is Azure is announcing the preview of Azure Orbital. This is the new ground station service that enables satellite operators to communicate to and control their satellites, process data, and scale operations directly with Azure. Several partners have signed up with Azure, including Emergent, Kratos, KSAT, Kubos, Viasat, and US Electrodynamics Incorporated. And several use cases were covered, including Earth observation satellites, IoT, and global communication satellites. Now, again, I love to spend $20 billion satellites into orbit and not know how to communicate with them.
Yeah, right. They've already got plans for communication for every existing satellite. So who are they really going after? Yeah,
it's interesting in some of these announcements, but I think ground station was a good move, because it was first. But I don't know that everyone needs this solution. But they have a much more interesting set of partners.
Jedi.
Do you think they're going to combine Orbital with their new AI solutions to ensure that people aren't using those two together irresponsibly?
I mean, Skynet's already doing it, so it's fine. I'm glad to see more options in the space because it's expensive to get satellite access time. So, I definitely think there's advantages, but I'm curious to see if Azure comes out with their whole space division next and just keeps copying the Amazon playbook on this one. Well, the AT&T powered Guardian device with Azure Sphere enables highly secure, simple, and scalable connectivity from anywhere. This is feeds on the partnership that they signed last year with AT&T and Azure to do 5G networking at the edge. And as part of this partnership, they're releasing a new IoT solution consisting of a cellular Guardian device powered by their network, security, and support services built with Azure Sphere. The AT&T Guardian device is a transformative example of how Microsoft is working with industry leaders like AT&T to achieve more and in turn deliver innovation and opportunity to their customers. The Guardian device unlocks several capabilities, including direct connection to a customer cloud by bypassing the need for Wi-Fi, device connections in remote areas without Wi-Fi access, and devices which are mobile without the need for disconnection and repairing to multiple Wi-Fi networks. So I guess they're basically saying, hey, cell phones are better than Wi-Fi. And so you should use this modem that's special and talks to the cloud.
Yeah, so isn't it just like every other 4G, 5G access hotspot?
Except for this one's cloud enabled, Jonathan.
Oh, of course. So it comes with a built-in OpenVPN or something.
And it's spherical.
All right. Next.
Nobody.
You guys are just wow.
Transformative though.
Transformative.
These things have been around for years.
I know. I've had like 3 or 4 hotspots in my lifetime. So
yeah.
Well, if you are so excited about that last announcement, I can now bring you innovation anywhere with the Azure multi-cloud, multi-edge hybrid capabilities.
Oh, please do.
Powered by the Azure Arc, which brings the Azure management capabilities to any infrastructure and allows you to run Azure services anywhere. They're adding the new features to the Arc, including the ability to run data services like SQL Server. Arc servers are now generally available for Windows and Linux servers, removing the need for physical devices and enabling multi-cloud. And the Azure Stack Arc products are now bringing the power of cloud to a data center through hardware partnerships between Microsoft and the vendors. With a preview for AKS on Azure Stack, Azure Stack Hub for GPUs for Tensor ML workloads, the VMware solution on Azure now going generally available, and Azure SQL Edge is now generally available, and 2 new Azure Stack rugged edge devices are available to you as well. So you get that multi-cloud edge devicing love anywhere you want it. And this actually allows you to run Azure services on top of AWS or Google if you wanted to.
Well, I mean, yeah, okay.
Can I run that in a Kubernetes cluster on VMs in a container?
No, on Anthos. On Anthos, yeah. Run Azure services on Anthos in AWS for only $100,000 a month. No mention of pricing for this?
Well, I mean, each of these things has their own pricing options. So if you want to use the Azure Arc to run, it depends on what you're running it on top of and how many devices you're managing. If you're doing the HCI Azure Stack capability, it's, you're buying HCI hardware first. So it depends on what you're buying. And then, of course, VMware solution, we already know the pricing on, and Azure SQL Edge, those rugged devices have a few different price tags as well.
Cool. I didn't think Microsoft would be the first, well, not first, but would at least beat AWS with a really good hybrid play.
Yeah.
I don't count Outpost as hybrid still. I mean, I just want to run their services in a container on my own infrastructure someplace.
Well, with all those edge devices and compute units all over the place, you need to secure all of them. And so Azure has several security innovations this week. The first one is that they're going to rebrand a ton of their products, including the XDR capabilities, the SIEM, Azure Security Threat Protection technologies are all now wrapped into the new Azure Defender branding. So Azure Defender, I like the name. That's all. So if you start seeing that on all the things like threat protection, etc., those will all be Azure Defender products to simplify your discovery of them. They're now enabling user and entity behavior analytics, or UBA, as they call it in the space, and threat intelligence with Azure Sentinel. This helps SecOps detect unknown threats and anomalous behavior of compromised users and insider threats. They have a new multi-cloud security posture management solution for Azure, which allows you to pull in all the security posture from Google, AWS, and Azure into a single viewpoint in Azure Security Center, which is great. I'm sure they're charging you 1% of all your bills to do that.
If you're lucky.
And then a managed hardware security module using HSM device to support a physical HSM device to support FIPS 140-2 level 3. Oh, our customer needed that.
Yeah.
Maybe Jedi. And then expanded security controls assessment with the new Azure Security Benchmarks V2 controls, and then additional support for customer lockbox with more services. This is the ability for you to know when Azure needs to access your data, and you can review, approve, or reject those access requests from Microsoft engineers through your Azure lockbox. And then, of course, they also want to highlight they support double encryption, which means they support encryption at rest and encryption in transit like every other cloud. But they announced it, so now it's new.
Never heard it called double encryption in my life.
Either have I.
Well, they do have a tendency of renaming things. I mean, why make new services where you can just rename old ones?
Although I have to agree, I really like Defender as the name of the product. Sweet.
Defender. Bitdefender.
Do you remember Defender, the video game? It was awesome.
I do. I still play that.
Oh.
I got my Raspberry Pi with all the old games on it.
Well, that was all the big highlights from Azure MS Ignite for the Azure Cloud. And there are other things for Office 365, which we don't cover here, and for other services. So if you're, hey, what happened to Office 365 or Dynamics or those things, go check out those blog posts that are available to you on the Azure blog or the Microsoft blogs. And we will now turn over to Peter for the amazing lightning round,
in which I will guarantee the winner will not be Ryan this week.
I mean, unless we're so bad that even Ryan can beat us.
No, if you guys are that bad, I'll take it myself.
It's fair.
All right. A new 4-course series on Coursera teaches vital product management skills.
I was surprised that it took 4 courses. I mean, I thought faster, why isn't it done yet, and ship it already wasn't very hard to teach people.
Well, if you'd taken the course, you'd understand why.
I want to take the course. I want to understand why. Amazon Redshift announces spatial functionality enhancements.
I mean, what are you going to say about spaces? Spaces and spatial, all there.
Amazon Transcribe adds support for automatic language identification.
Which means they'll finally understand Jonathan when we send the transcribe up.
I do have problems ordering just simple things. I'd like a glass of water, please. Nobody ever understands me.
How does the dingus handle it? Does the dingus help you out with that? Like, does she understand you well, or does she struggle too? The Amazon dingus, the assistant. Try not to say her name because she'll wake up.
Yeah, I know. Actually, she does better than Google does. Yeah.
That's good.
Moving on. You can now enforce encryption for Amazon Elastic File System resources using AWS IAM.
Because I love to have my data encrypted by an IAM policy I did not remember about.
I mean, where else are you going to put that, though? IAM's the place to be.
The place to be.
Well, I mean, we already ruined IAM with tagging, so why not ruin it with encryption policies too?
Announcing event logging and self-upgrade capabilities in the SSM agent with the new version, which is version 3.0.
So they finally learned that using a package manager as a reliable upgrade mechanism is not a good plan. Thank you.
I'm just so happy they've done this, though. Because, yeah, not being able to use the agent to update the agent was just so short-sighted.
Well, and they did it in ECS early on. I was like, oh, yes, they're going to do it for everything else. They have agents-wise. Nope, sure did not. They announced that Cloudwatch is available to you via Yum, but no auto-updated there either. So
I have to go rewatch Inception now after reading that.
Go three layers down. Can the agent update the agent? Update the agent. I don't know.
Amazon MSK now supports SASL and Scram authentication with usernames and passwords secured by AWS Secrets Manager.
As my good friend Oscar the Grouch says, Scram.
Beat me to it.
Oh, really? Oscar the Grouch?
I've got an Oscar the Grouch t-shirt. I wear it all the time. I love Oscar the Grouch.
Everybody loves Oscar the Grouch. You can now accelerate analytics and AI workloads with Photon-powered Delta Engine on Azure Databricks.
Or the name of my spec script that I sent into Star Trek.
Nice. That might be a winner. Amazon CloudFront announces support for Brotli compression.
I mean, Peter, you got to eat your broccoli for sure.
I was thinking Justin was going to explain it to us. It's named after him.
I thought so too. Exactly. Is that
not even
that
the right
is
number of
impression?
letters,
I mean, it immediately makes me guess your IQ at a much higher level based on the fact that you wrote your own compression algorithm. Good job.
You're welcome. Yeah. I take royalty checks.
Although you should learn to spell your last name a little better.
Yeah, apparently so.
I read the article that says it's a widely supported lossless compression. I've never heard of it, ever.
It's because probably F5 just calls it compression.
Right, exactly.
Amazon wants to make it a press release, so there you go.
AWS Budgets now offers daily granularity for cost and usage budgets.
Because, 40 gigs of log data isn't easy to review. So, just give you daily granularity instead.
Well, it's for the budgeting, though, so isn't it? So you don't have to wait a whole week to realize that you've blown your budget. They can tell you straight away.
Away. One of the very first things they always recommend to you do is turn on budget notifications. And my favorite thing is that on the third day of the month, I get a notification every month that I'm going to exceed my budget because it uses on-demand pricing to calculate your budget usage, and I have an RI.
That's
so it doesn't actually help me in any way unless I make my budget higher than the reservation price. So it's a bit annoying.
Can I plug Foghorn for a second?
Sure.
We are in the process of rolling out some cool Terraform-y stuff to automate the process of setting up budgets and all your accounts on a policy basis, so that as you add accounts to your organization, budgets are created, etc. So we've got some cool stuff coming out for cost compliance. Also doing a bunch of custom policy-based cloud custodian policies so that you could basically set up stuff on an organization basis and have policies rolled out based on OUs that accounts are in.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Okay, back to task. Amazon RDS for SQL Server now supports native backup and restore on DB instances with read replicas.
The number one reason why you enable SQL Server backups on, even a replica set is because we're backups. Like, it's the whole purpose. We have a whole article from Google on serverless backup exports because of this problem. You just now got this, Amazon? I had no idea this wasn't already part of the way it worked.
That's because you haven't lost a database there. Yeah.
I've lost plenty of databases.
Not that, yeah.
I'm really good at dropping tables accidentally.
I mean, I can get restoring back. I mean, it makes the whole thing makes no sense, really. If you actually dig into the article, then everyone should go and click on the thing and try and read what's actually going on here. But previously, you couldn't even restore a backup onto an RDS cluster that had a read replica. Makes zero sense.
You know what's really annoying about restoring from a backup or a snapshot on RDS with Terraform is that it doesn't understand that I only wanted to do that the first time, and that then when the database changes later on, it wants to then restore the database snapshot that you used to originally create the database. It's super annoying.
Yes. Well, and now I'm going to be especially suspicious of any company that announces a new backup offering that is just backup and not backup and restore.
Hey, backing up is the easy part.
Exactly.
Restoring is difficult.
Oh yeah, we back up. Oh, you can't restore.
Yeah.
Can't restore.
Okay, here's our backup logs for compliance. Yep.
Elasticsearch audit logs are now available on Amazon Elasticsearch service.
I mean, if I wanted to know that Jonathan dropped the cluster, he would just tell me. It's fine.
At least I can prove to you now that it just says we're down, cluster red.
My cluster yellow is okay, which makes no sense.
No.
It would suck if you, yeah. AWS Lambda adds console support for visualizing AWS step functions workflows.
Or just go and click in the step function console where you see exactly the same thing.
But then I get lost. Like, I had to go find the step function console, which I'd never been to.
It's cool in there.
Is it?
You might not find your way out, but it's cool in there.
Everyone I know who drinks the step functions Kool-Aid just becomes, I know about it because they tell you in the first 5 seconds. So
I want to try the API support for visualizing AWS step functions workflows. How would that work?
Okay. I don't know how that'll work, but sure. Sounds good. Let me know how that works out for you, Peter.
I'm going to work on that one.
It's going to be some cool, 1980s looking ASCII graph.
Maybe.
It's going to happen. I'm going to make you one.
Thank you. All right. And to round out the round, last chance, Jonathan, because you're way behind.
I know.
And that means Jonathan gets to go first on this one. So Justin, don't jump the gun. Azure database for Postgres flexible server now in preview.
He forgot.
Hang on, let me think back really quick. I
Can you
clicked
play
on
the
it.
Jeopardy theme here for me?
Yeah, I wish
No,
I could sing it.
I do have the Jeopardy theme. I can paste it in here. No, please go ahead, Justin. I've completely dropped the.
This is a wolf in disguise. This is just the ability to flexibly move to SQL Server in one simple command.
No, I remember what I was going to say.
Azure database for Postgres flexible server now in preview.
It just lets you stop and start it on the schedule. You could already do that. You could already stop and start your stuff. It's just.
I'm still going with it. It's a flexible ability for you to move to SQL Server because Microsoft hates Postgres.
Yes, the photon torpedo wins it. Sorry.
Oh, that's what he meant. Oh, okay. I get it now.
Yeah, my spec script for Star Trek is photon-powered Delta engines on Azure Databricks. Like, what the hell is that?
I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess
Right. No one else got it either.
It's
Listeners,
passive.
I got
It's
it
passive.
because I'm old.
apparently Jonathan's a Star Wars guy, not a.
No, I'm just sort of playing down the joke so it doesn't seem as good.
Sour grapes.
Well, that's
Sour
that's
grapes,
fair. Yeah, fair. Well, again, coming up here in a few weeks is the Women in Tech Conference on October 13th. We do recommend checking that out from our great partners at Manning Press. Women in Tech is a fantastic organization helping to get more women into technology careers or STEM careers in general, not just technology. And we are super excited to help support that conference. And it's a one-day conference available to you to go sign up for free through the link in our show notes. Well, that is it for This Week in Cloud, you guys.
Yay.
Ignite snuck up on me. That's okay. It's all good. We recovered nicely.
Is Ignite just 1 week?
Yeah, they actually they wisely chose to only do a 3 or 4 day virtual conference versus the 9 weeks of Google Digital Next or the 3 weeks of Amazon reInvent.
Love it.
Digital.
So, love it.
So I'm still very much on the side of just Tim Cook it up. Just record a 4-hour video releasing all these new amazing things, and then release YouTube videos of the new things. A deeper dive of each of those things. That's all I need. Don't give me anything more. So let's see. There was a fantastic article this week on Nitro from Werner Vogel. If you were curious about the Nitro history, All Things Distributed, which is his personal blog, he goes into history on the Nitro instances, their evolution from EC2 instances all the way to Nitro dedicated, silicone to manage instances at scale and more securely. Really great read. Definitely check that out as well if you are interested in all things Nitro.
Cool.
Excellent.
Awesome, guys. We'll see you next week with Ryan back.
All right.
Have a great week.
See you.
Good night.
Have a good day.
And that is the Week in Cloud. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Foghorn Consulting. Subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts and tweet us your feedback at #TheCloudPod. Or join our Slack channel. Go to our website, thecloudpod.net for sign-up instructions.